Well, welcome everyone to Therapeutic Yoga today. We are tackling the core. So it's a commonly utilized term in the fitness world. And so what I wanted to do today is start with talking about what the core is not. Because it gets very confusing for the average individual as to what they should do to strengthen their trunk. And so I thought what we would do is basically begin class with explaining to you what the core is and what the core is not, so that you truly understand what you should be doing to get a nice, safe, healthy, and strong spine. And so the stronger this is, the better you are with movement and everything else. So I am going to use the analogy of a soda pop can. Now, I don't have soda pop in my house, nor should you. So these are mineral water cans, but basically it's a simple aluminum can, and it's going to suffice for me to give you an example of what the core is. Okay, so if you think for a second about an apple core, the core is the deepest component of the fruit. Not that I'm analogizing us human beings to fruit, but it's the same concept. The core are the muscles that are the deepest muscles of our trunk. Now, if we take our trunk and we analogize it to a soda pop can or an aluminum can, where there's a top, so there is a little tiny top to the can, and there is a bottom, all right? That is your trunk. That is your trunk in a nutshell. And so your core is the entire aluminum can. What's on the inside are your visceral organs, your guts, your heart, your lungs, and everything else that works efficiently according to pressures. So you have pulmonary pressures in your lungs relative to outside, and that's what makes you breathe in and out. And you have abdominal pressures in your lower half below your diaphragm. And dependent on those abdominal pressures tells you if you're pushing air out or other things out or containing things in. So in the efficient system closed, so we haven't popped the aluminum can open, the pressures on the inside are even everywhere. There are muscles around the entire body that are keeping those pressures contained. Those are the muscles we're going to work on today. There are muscles and things on the top of our body. I want you to think about your vocal folds and everything that's happening up here in your neck that keep your pressures contained from above. And then, what do you think this is down here? You have a pelvic floor, which contains your pressures from below. So when we think about an efficient core, this contained system, if I'm gravity and I push down on that as much as possible, the can doesn't buckle, it doesn't bend, the pressures don't change. That's what we want to work on making on our bodies today. Now, contrary, here's a can that's empty of pressure. The lid is popped. So this might be somebody that has difficulties breathing, asthma, COPD, emphysema, a neck injury, a whiplash, poor posture. Probably put that one at the first, okay? So in this situation, maybe even this individual has poor posture. So their rib cage and their pelvis don't align well. What do you think happens in this system? Well, as soon as you add gravity to it, it buckles. So that's an inefficient core. Unfortunately, most of our bodies are inefficient cores. Now, this analogy that I'm giving you with an aluminum can is thank you to Mary Massery, a fabulous physical therapist who does research on the core and the pressures of our trunk. So today, what we're going to be working on are all of the components of our core. So that means our vocal folds. We've got to work on breathing because it is the key thing that controls and stabilizes our upper pressure system. Our diaphragm is the connecting piece between our upper body and our lower body of our trunk. We've got to strengthen our diaphragm through breathing exercises if we want an efficient core. Our pelvic floor. We need to strengthen our pelvic floor if we want an efficient core. So those are already 3 components of your core. The remaining components of your core are the entire part of the aluminum can that goes around. So it is your deep transversus abdominals, your deep internal obliques, your deep hip flexors, and your deep side muscles of your spine, and then your back muscles that are deep close to the spine. What it is not, ladies and gentlemen, are your big back moving muscles. It is not the muscles that you see people in the fitness world doing sit-ups and curl-ups. If you think those are your core muscles, all you're doing is creating an efficient system and making more imbalance, creating more dysfunction. Now, I'm not telling you that there isn't a time and place to maybe work those abdominal muscles that you see people crunching and sitting up with, but it's not to keep a stable, strong spine, which is what we're going to work on today. Now, for class, you need your yoga mat and a bolster and a yoga block. The yoga block is strictly to provide head support today. So if you wanted to get a really big pillow or even an additional towel for your yoga block, feel free to do that. And then join me in a sitting position on your yoga bolster. And let's make sure we find a nice, good, efficient sitting posture to work those vocal folds and that diaphragm and the abdominals, pelvic floor, and back muscles in sitting. So make sure to roll your pelvis forward and backward until you can kind of feel where your sit bones are on the bolster. It will actually feel like it's the position that you're the tallest in. Once you're in that position, make your spine nice and tall. Take a minute to get your shoulder blades in a good position here. So here's what I want everybody to do with me. Take your hands to the center of your heart. Take a nice deep inhale. Just lift your arms up and over your head. Maybe reach for the sky, get that spine tall. And then as you exhale, bring those hands down. Place your hands to the side of your bolster. Now, your thumbs are likely forward right now. So take your thumbs and rotate your thumbs to the back of your yoga mat. In this position, allow that spine to be tall. Give those shoulder blades a nice, good little squeeze. And once you've given them a squeeze, bring those hands only back onto your thighs without changing the shoulder blade position. Finally, lengthen the neck and settle that chin into the throat. All right, so let's begin working on the core. The first thing we're working on is the piece that is often missed, particularly in the fitness world, and that is your neck. So lengthen your neck, settle your chin. Your vocal folds, which are in the center of your neck, kind of work like a scissor action. So when you inhale, they open. When you exhale, they close. And so as they're opening and closing on inhaling and the other way. Yeah, inhaling, they open, exhaling, they close. You're getting control of air into the upper pressure system and control of air out. Now, we're going to do ocean breath. Ujjayi breath in the yoga world is what it's called in Sanskrit. But essentially what it's going to do is it's going to allow you to get control of those vocal folds. So staying nice and tall. Imagine for a second that you have a mirror in front of you. Take a nice deep inhale into your nose. Open your mouth and try to steam that mirror up as much as you can. So as you're and making that noise through your throat, that's you trying to control and like a bicep curl, slowly control those vocal folds close as you're trying to vocalize and push air outward at the same time. Now let's try to do the same thing, but instead of keeping that mouth open and steaming up that mirror, try to see if you can exhale out through your nose. So take a nice deep inhale into your nose. Now imagine a wave. What would a wave sound like? And it should be as you exhale and feel yourself contracting those vocal folds, you also feel your abdominals coming up and in. You feel your pelvic floor coming up and in. And that's all us using a single breathing exercise to strengthen our core. So get that body nice and long, slightly hinge forward from your hips, just so you've got some weight into your legs. Shoulder blades are back and down, neck is long, chin is tucked. Let's go through 5 ujjayi breaths or ocean breaths. In and out through your nose. Give me the strongest exhalation, the loudest ocean breath you can give me. Here we go. Inhaling. Exhaling. Inhaling. Exhaling. 3 more. Inhaling. Exhaling. Inhaling. Exhaling. 1 more. Inhaling. And exhaling. Could you hear your breath? Could you feel yourself wheezing and controlling those vocal folds closed? I hope so. Could you feel your abdominals and everything increasing into the abdominal pressure, pelvic floor tightening up on that exhale? I hope so. All right, now let's move on to that diaphragm. So it's kind of the interconnecting piece between the upper part of the trunk and the lower part of the trunk, but it is the major breathing muscle that goes awry when our posture goes wrong. So oftentimes what happens is people become dysfunctional with their breathing. So here's what happens when their posture is out of alignment. When they inhale, they actually suck their abdominal muscles in, and when they exhale, they relax them. That is actually paradoxical breathing. So you're using the muscles in the wrong methodology to what they should be used to get a strong, efficient core. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to take your hands and I want you to place your hands just above your belly button. So you're placing them on the upper part of your abdomen. Make sure you're sitting nice and tall. Make sure there's weight through your feet. Lengthen your neck, settle your chin. Take your tongue and rest your tongue on the roof of your mouth. Real important to open up that airway and allow the most amount of air in and the most amount of air out as the jaws are in their resting position. Now, close your eyes if you want to, but here's what I want you to focus on doing. Place a slight amount of pressure of your hands into your belly. Kind of think like you're doing a little bit of CPR to your abdomen. Keep pressing inward with your hands. Now take a slow inhale into your nose and push the hands outward. That's using your diaphragm. As you exhale, just let the air go out of your nose slowly as you push your hands back inward. Let's try that 3 more times. Can you inhale? Slowly push your hands outward. You may even feel your low back stretching when you do that if you've done inefficient breathing for a long time. Let's try it again. Push inward with the hands. Inhale. Pushing that airway and that pressure down as that diaphragm pushes downward. All right, let's give it one more try as you finish your exhale. Give me an inhale. And the diaphragm pushes outward. So a quick way to train your breathing through your diaphragm is just to sense your belly, feel your belly with a hand, called kinesthetic awareness. As you're inhaling, belly goes out. As you're exhaling, belly relaxes. Okay, now finally, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do Ujjayi breath with diaphragmatic breathing, with a really strong exhale to tighten and wrap up all those abdominal pressures and pull that pelvic floor up. So let's see if you can do that. Place at least one hand on your belly. Make sure you're sitting nice and tall, weight onto your legs, shoulder blades are back and down, lengthen your neck, settle your chin. So in and out through the nose, hear the ocean breath, focus on your belly expanding on the inhale, focus on everything pushing the abdominal air out on the exhale. Can you do all those things at one time? Let's give it a try. Deep inhale in. And exhale really, really loud. Keep exhaling, tightening and tightening and tightening and tightening. You've got it. Let's do that 2 more times. Inhale. Exhale. Keep exhaling. Exhale, exhale, exhale. You've got it. Last time. Inhale. And exhale. You've got it. So guys, you don't need big movements to strengthen your core. Focusing on Ujjayi breath, diaphragmatic breathing, and forced exhalation, you're getting the entire aluminum can already working. But let's spend the rest of the class now working on some good muscle strengthening. So here's what I'd like you to do. Slowly take yourself off of your bolster. So sweep your feet to the side and then bring yourself to hands and knees for me. Turn your bolster so that it is in the middle of your yoga mat because we're going to be using it in a second, but allow yourself just to straddle up and over your bolster. Now check in that your knees are hip distance apart. Look back at your feet and make sure you can see that they line up with your knees, and then stack those hips directly on top of those knees. Walk those hands forward until those wrists and elbows line up with the shoulders and their shoulder width apart. So just a couple of movements through our spine here. So let's go through 3 cat-cows just to wake up any muscles that haven't woken up yet with those breathing exercises. And then we'll get working on strengthening through some extra core muscles. So take an inhale, let your belly sink. Let your tailbone lift. Let your shoulder blades sink back and down. Lift the chest, lengthen the front of your neck, and look upward. And then as you exhale, really allow yourself to pull that belly up and in. Tuck that tailbone under. Spread the shoulder blades. Arch through that upper back. Chin to chest, gaze into your belly button. 2 more times. Inhaling. Sink everything down. Feel like the front of your spine is getting the longest that it can. And then exhale, curl everything up so that you feel like the front of your spine is getting the shortest. All right, let's do that again. Inhale. Can you think of the back of your spine this time? Can you feel about crunching the back of your spine and shortening it as much as you can? Now, on this exhale, do your best. Can you exhale and lengthen the back of your spine as much as you can? Really get that chin to your chest. Now, stay in that angry, angry cat. Walk your hands up onto your bolster. Keep that tailbone tucked under. Sit yourself back onto your heels and then slowly bend your elbows as you drop the crown of your head towards your bolster. All right, so let's make sure that we get our back stretched out here. We want to be working our core, not creating any increased tension in our movers or our back muscles. So in this position, take a nice deep inhale into your belly, into your thighs to stretch out through that low back. And then slowly exhale that air out. Deep inhale into the belly. And then slowly exhale that air out. You've got it. Now gently bring yourself back up to hands and knees. So we're going to be working on an exercise that I will tell you in the physical therapy world is traditionally called bird dog. Now, here's the thing, or dog bird, one of those. Anyways, here's the thing I want you to think about. If you think about a hunting dog that all of a sudden has identified a bird, what that dog is going to do is place itself in the position directing that bird. That's where this exercise got its name. Unfortunately, it's a highly overutilized exercise and often done the wrong way. So let's really work today at getting every component of this exercise right. So check in that you have that alignment through the lower half of your body. Then go through pelvic tilting a couple times to Find the position where you feel like your sacrum or your pelvis is nice and flat and level. Go through squeezing your shoulder blades and relaxing them a couple times and see if you can find that beautiful tabletop position. Finally, lengthen your neck, settle your chin, and take your entire head and line it up with your spine. All right, now in this position, you're already working your core because you're getting that stable alignment. But here's what I want you to now do. Slowly allow yourself to rock slightly onto your hands. Feel that there's more weight onto your hands. Then rock back until you feel like there's more weight onto your knees. Can you do that 2 or 3 times and find that position where you're perfectly balanced between those 2 palms, those 2 knees? Make sure your index fingers are forward and the thumbs are spread inward so you get that weight-bearing component through the index fingers and the thumb. All right, now here's what I want you to do. Simply take your right leg and straighten your right leg with your toes still touching the floor. Now, as you did that, can you check in with your pelvis and make sure that it didn't drop? Make sure that it didn't rotate and lift. But imagine, can you see that your pelvis is still perfectly level? Now take a nice deep inhale, and on the exhale, brace and tighten through your abdominal region. Once you're there, slowly take an inhale and lift your leg 2 or 3 inches. Now your pelvis shouldn't move. All that you should see moving is your hip. Can you maintain this? Feel that there's more weight through your right hand, more weight through your left knee. Take a nice deep inhale in. Can you make that ocean breath? Use those vocal folds. Exhale out. One more breath. Deep inhale in. Exhaling out, and then slowly drop the toes back down to the floor. Slowly slide the right knee in. All right, let's do the left knee. So make sure you haven't lost that tabletop position through the shoulder blades, through the neck, through the pelvis, through the low back. And then slide the left leg straight. Now, as you do that, make sure that your pelvis doesn't drop downward or lift upward because you're not strong through that opposite hip. So just do the best you can at home. Then take a deep inhale. And then as you exhale, really tighten through your abdominal muscles and brace. All right. Then inhale, lift that leg 2 to 3 inches off the floor. That's it, you guys. Don't let the spine move. Give me a nice deep inhale. Ujjayi breath. Use those vocal folds. And exhale. One more breath. Nice deep inhale. And exhale. And then slide that left knee in. Walk your hands on top of the bolsters. Sit back and give those poor little wrists a break. Now, do some circles with those wrists. Maybe even just push the fingertips down and get some wrist flexion to counter that wrist extension that you were doing. You can settle your crown of the head to your bolster if you want. But I want you just to really kind of open up through those wrists for a moment. We're going to go right back to it, and we're going to add the arms this time. And so remember that you want to be able to move your arms and your legs and keep a stable trunk if you want to have a healthy and good spine as you age. And so we want to make sure that as we add these arms, we don't see lots of twisting and movement of our spine. So slowly make yourself back up onto your hands and knees. Can you check in that you've got that perfect alignment again through your hands? Index fingers and thumbs are where you're weight bearing, not those outer fingers. Maybe rock yourself a couple times. Check in with a tuck and tilt that your pelvis is neutral. Check in with a squeeze and a drop that your shoulder blades are neutral. Lengthen your neck, settle your chin. Okay, now here's what I want you to do. In this position, right leg, lengthen it back out. Go to your pelvis. Did your pelvis drop? Did it lift? Get into that neutral pelvis position. Take a nice deep inhale here. And then as you exhale, brace and tighten through those abdominals. Okay, now in this position, inhale, lift that right leg a couple of inches. Don't let anything move. Exhale here, left arm. Can you inhale and reach the arm forward, but don't allow yourself to backward bend. So keep the abdominals engaged, keep the neck nice and long, push into the right index finger and thumb. Allow yourself to hold right here. Can you take a nice deep inhale in? Can you take that exhale out and make that ocean breath? One more breath, guys. Inhale, exhale. Drop the left hand down, drop the right knee down, sit on back, relax through that right elbow. Maybe even take that left hand and adjust that right wrist flexion a bit more and feel that stretch through that right wrist. All right, here we go. Last round with the left leg and the right hand. So bring yourself back up into tabletop. Do your rock back and forth. Do your pelvic movement to find neutral. Do your shoulder blade movement to find neutral. Get that neck long, tuck that chin in, and find neutral. All right, now in this position, allow yourself to take that nice deep inhale in, and then as you exhale, brace and tighten through those abdominals, just like someone was trying to punch you. So don't pull your abdominals up and in and change your pelvic position, just hardening those abdominals. Now take an inhale, slide that left leg out, and then as you exhale, check in that your pelvis hasn't done something funny. All right, here we go. Keeping those abdominals nice and braced. Take an inhale and lift that left leg up. Now, in this position, as you exhale, can you reach that right hand forward? You've got it. Lengthen that neck, settle that chin, get all those muscles shaking and contracting. Let's get 2 breaths in here. Nice deep inhale in and exhaling out. One more time, nice deep inhale in and exhaling out. Beautiful. Dropping the right hand, dropping the left knee. Final time, sitting on back. This time taking that left wrist down and maybe adding a little bit of an extra stretch into flexion by bending with the right hand. All right, give me a nice, good, slow, deep inhale here. And then exhaling out. You've got it, guys. All right, now here's where we're going. We're going up and on our side on this bolster. So what I'd like you to do is literally sit yourself up on your left side on the bolster. Make sure that you feel that your entire leg bone and your entire pelvis, unless you're really tall, and then your knee's going to be off the front, is on this bolster. When you have yourself in that position, you're ready to lay yourself down into an inversion. Now, before we do it, I want to talk about why we're going to be laying upside down here. And so here's the thing. If you've got an inefficient diaphragm, that diaphragm doesn't like to work really well. One thing that makes it work really well is to take our guts and push our guts up onto the diaphragm so the diaphragm has something to resist against. So that's why we're kind of turning ourselves upside down here. So in this position, allow yourself to bring your left elbow and your right hand down, and then just slowly drop yourself down into an inversion so that your left shoulder is underneath you, your right shoulder is stacked on top of the left, and your head is gently resting downward. Now, you're in a slight side bend through your head. If you feel like that's going to stimulate any sort of dizziness, vestibular type of issue, you can put a small towel under your head, but a yoga block is way, way too much. If you can tolerate just being in this inversion, allow yourself to stack those knees on top of one another. Ankles are stacked. That pelvis is entirely sitting up and on that bolster. Now, here's what I want you to do with your right hand. I want you to place your right hand on the top of your right pelvis. Now, in this position, we're going to be really focusing on the side of the core here. And so what I want you to be able to do is I want you to be able to see if you can push your pelvis down and away from you and let your toes touch to the floor. Okay. And then can you pull your pelvis up towards your rib cage and lift your toes and your feet up towards the ceiling. Now, if you did not position your pelvis on the bolster well enough, you might have just fallen off the front of it. So just sit yourself back up and come back up onto that bolster until you feel like you're in a comfortable position. So our internal obliques and those deep fibers of the quadratus lumborum, all of the side muscles that really encompass our core is what we're going to be working on here. And so here's what I want you to do. Keep that right hand onto the side of your pelvis. And let's see if we can work through this movement in conjunction with that Ujjayi breath. So I want you to take an inhale. And as you inhale, drop that pelvis away from the rib cage. Let those toes touch towards the floor. And then as you exhale, feel that pelvis coming up as you lift those toes up towards the ceiling. You've got it. Can you inhale? Can you make that ocean breath as you drop those toes and that pelvis all the way down? Can you exhale and pull and pull and pull those toes up as you feel that pelvis coming closer to the rib cage? Inhaling, dropping down. Let's see if we can get 5 in here. This is number 3. Exhale, pull up. Hear those vocal folds working. 2 more times. Inhaling, dropping down, and exhaling, pulling upwards. Squeeze as you feel that pelvis coming towards that rib cage. Last time, inhale, drop those toes down, and exhale, pull that pelvis up. Very nice, guys. Slowly drop your legs down to their resting position. Take your right hand onto the floor. And then nice deep inhale, and on the exhale with that bottom elbow, push yourself back up out of that inversion. So here's what you got to do there. You really emphasized the right dome of your diaphragm. You got all of those muscles of the core that kind of sit on the side of that aluminum can. So all we're going to do now is just do a quick little flip. So switch your feet to the opposite side. So now the right pelvis and the right leg is what's resting up and on top of that bolster. When you get yourself there and those knees are stacked, same deal. Just slowly lower yourself down with the strength of your arms. So as you're bringing the left hand down, just slowly drop yourself down onto that right shoulder. And then once you feel like your pelvis is in the right position, the legs are in the right position of the bolster, stack that right shoulder up onto the left shoulder, and then gently rest the head down onto the floor. Same as the opposite side. If this is doing something not so good for your vestibular system, obviously put something small underneath your head so that you're not creating problems, trying to get an efficient core here. All right, now guys, same thing as we did on the opposite side. So take your left hand and place it on the top side of your left pelvis. Now, feel as you bring your toes to the floor, you drop your pelvis away from your rib cage. As you lift your your pelvis up towards your rib cage, you bring your feet upwards into the air. So you're using all of those muscles of the core that sit on the side of your body. All right, so let's see if we can do this with breathing. So you at home, I want to hear that ocean breath that you've got so good working so that you can strengthen those vocal folds and get all the way to the top of that core. All right, here we go. So as you inhale, drop the toes, push the pelvis away from the rib cage. Exhale, pull that pelvis up, lift those toes up into the air. You've got it 4 more times. Inhale, drop that pelvis and those toes to the floor. And exhale, lifting up, squeeze as you bring that pelvis towards that rib cage. Inhale, dropping down, drop that pelvis away. Exhale, pull that pelvis and those toes up. 2 more times. Inhaling, dropping down, and exhaling, lifting up. Finally, inhaling, dropping down, and exhaling, lifting all the way up, and then relaxing there. So if you did that well, hopefully you'll feel those muscles of the side of your body tomorrow or the next day. Now, instead of just popping yourself back up into sitting in this position, see if you can take that bottom hand and grab a hold of the bolster or a hold of whatever the front of what you're laying on, and see if you can do this for me. Brace the abdominals real tightly. Take a nice deep inhale, and as you exhale, flip yourself over. So voila, you're laying on your back with your pelvis still on that bolster. Now you might need to move around and get yourself in a position that's more comfortable for you. I'm just kind of fixing the seam of my shirt because it bothers me when I can feel it folded. But get yourself now in the position that your neck is long, it's relaxed, your pelvis is resting entirely on the bolster, and your knees are just up in the air. So this is a perfect position for us to really work on strengthening that diaphragm for those of us that just couldn't do it in a sitting position because there might be too many issues with your posture. So in this position, all of your guts are working up and onto that diaphragm. So it's getting weight, it's getting resistance, like doing a bicep curl with a weight. So here's what I want you to do. Take your hands and place your hands above your belly button onto your abdomen. Lengthen your neck, settle your chin. Do nothing with your legs other than keeping them stacked on top of your hips here. Just keeping slight tension into your hip flexors. Now, in this position, take a deep inhale into your nose and feel that diaphragm expanding that belly up and out. And then as you exhale, just let the air passively leave. Let's do that 2 more times. Nice deep inhale in. Exhaling, passively letting the air go. One last time here. Deep inhale in. And then exhaling, letting the air out. Letting the air out through that nose, letting the air go. And then gently bringing your knees to your chest. Now, besides the fact that this is a great massage for your abdominals, if you've got really restricted abdominals, having ourselves in this inversion does a lot of good for our nervous system and our vascular system. So keep yourself in this position, hands around both shin bones. Take a nice deep inhale. And as you exhale, just gently pull your knees to your chest. So this is kind of like an upside down child's pose, right? So now in this position, take a nice deep inhale into your belly, push your belly into your thighs, stretching out through that low back. And then as you exhale, just allow that low back to relax. Let's do that again. Deep inhale into the belly. Exhaling out. Deep inhale in. And exhaling out. You've got it. All right, let's tackle the abdominals. So here's what I want everybody to know that's taking this class today. If you have an aging low back, you've ever heard the words stenosis. Stenosis just means you've got excess bone growth that's either pushing on a nerve or pushing on a tissue that's sensitive. The position we're in right now, you guys, is the best position to strengthen your abdominals. And here's why. It's allowing you to have additional space of your low back. It's decompressing your low back at the same time as you're learning how to contract safely, get a good brace through your abdominals. So hear me, if you're one of those individuals at home that does have a low back issue, has had any sort of MRI or something that has been told you have lateral or femoral or central stenosis of your low back, this is the position you choose to strengthen your abdominals. All right, now that I've said that, allow yourself to stack your knees just on top of your hips. And then in that position, take your hands and place your hands on top of your thighs. Drop your feet so that your feet and your knees are relaxed, but then take your ankles and point your toes upward towards your head. Now, in this position, lengthen your neck, settle your chin. So get that neck muscles engaged, gaze at your knees. Now start to use your triceps of your upper arms and gently begin to push your hands into your knees and your knees into your hands. Now, imagine that you're trying to lift your fingertips towards the ceiling. As you do that, you will feel those deep hip flexors, those lower abdominal muscles contracting, turning on, just like turning a light switch and having a light turn on in a room. Maintain that contraction. Now, here's what we're going to add to that. Can you make that Ujjayi breath or that ocean breath? Maintaining this contraction, can you take an inhale into your nose? And exhaling out. One more breath, deep inhale in. And exhaling out. Beautiful. Now, keep that brace, keep that contraction, but take your hands off of your thighs. Let's see if you can do this. Don't move your pelvis. Don't move your low back. Can you very, very slowly start to lower one leg? The minute you feel your pelvis or your low back move, stop. So I have pretty good flexibility and I cannot even get my foot to the floor. So see where you are at home. And then slowly bring that leg back up, keeping the back and the pelvis stable. Can you lower the left leg? So this is what's called marching, but you're learning to keep the abdominal muscles contracted as you lengthen your hip flexors. Again, I have pretty good flexibility and I can barely touch my heel to the floor. See what you can do at home. Don't let the pelvis and the low back move. All right, let's try one more time on the right side with breath here. So take a nice deep inhale. And as you exhale, slowly exhale, tighten those abdominals. Exhale, keep that spine stable. And then can you inhale, bring that right knee back up. Let's try the exhale with the left leg here. Exhale, slowly lower the left leg. Don't let that pelvis or spine move. And then inhale, slowly bring that leg up. You've got it, guys. Now, here's what I want you to do. Gently bring your knees to your chest, give yourself a little hug. And this is what I want you to do with your hands. Take your hands and just push your bolster away. Very nice. Roll yourself over to your left and right side, and then push yourself up into a seated position. All right, now, we're not done with the core. We're just changing our position with our bolster. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to take your bolster and place it lengthwise on your yoga mat. Once you have that, take your yoga block. That's where your head is going to be. So there'll be a space in the center for your neck, and you want your shoulders at the top part of your bolster. If your shoulders are there, then unless your trunk is longer than the length of your bolster, your tailbone's going to hit somewhere near the end of this bolster. Now that you've positioned yourself, there is an easy way to lay up on your bolster that doesn't cause harm to your low back. And then there's a hard way. And so this is what I typically see people do. They take their tailbone down to the end, and then they just kind of roll themselves back into that position. The problem with that is if you don't already have sufficient abdominal strength, when you do that, you're actually harming your low back. So try this instead. Come to the very, very front edge of the bolster with one of your hip bones. Then drop that same elbow on the floor next to the bolster. Take a nice deep inhale, and then as you exhale, just roll yourself over. So what you did is you did a log roll, no compression to the lumbar spine, versus a reverse sit-up. Well, the reverse sit-up is only going to encourage the muscles that are not part of your core. Okay, now, can you get yourself in the right position? Because we're going to be here for 10 minutes. So make sure that you feel like your head, the occiput, the very back of your skull is resting on that yoga block. Now, if you've got a lot of postural dysfunction and you need your neck a little bit further, well, that's simple. Just put a towel or pillow there, or turn the yoga block in its highest position. So do what works best for you at home as you're practicing with me today. And then once you have that yoga block in the position, make sure to check in that your neck is nice and free, that you feel your shoulder blades onto the yoga bolster, and that you feel that predominantly your pelvis is also still sitting on the bolster. All right, have your feet about hip distance on the floor. And then we're going to start with a gentle opening through our hip flexors. So interestingly, sometimes if our hip flexors are too tense, so they're too stressed or they're too tight, we really can't get our core to completely fire. So we're going to start with kind of getting a nice good lengthening through our hip flexors first. So tighten, brace your abdominals, bring your right knee up to your chest, follow that with your left knee up to your chest. Now make sure you're comfortable with your balance on your bolster there. If you are, take both hands to your left knee and take a nice deep inhale. And as you exhale, pull your knee into your chest and secure your pelvis and your spine in that position. Now with that right leg, take an inhale, kick the leg out, and then as you exhale, try to push that leg down into the floor. So nice, good opening through the front of those right hip flexors. Now in that position, keeping that left knee to your chest, take a nice deep inhale, and as you exhale, straighten the right knee and push the right heel down into the ground. You've got it. One more time. Deep inhale. Exhale, straighten the right knee, push that right heel down into the ground. Beautiful. Now slowly pull the right knee back up to your chest and then take the hands around the right knee. Nice deep inhale here. Exhale, pull that right knee into your chest. Let's do it all over again with the left hip flexors. So take that inhale, kick that left leg straight, and as you exhale, push that leg straight down onto the floor. Heel is touching if you can make it happen. Keeping the right knee to the chest now. Take a deep inhale, and as you exhale, push that left knee straight and push that heel down into the ground. You've got it. One more breath here. Deep inhale. Exhale, straighten that left knee, push that heel down into the ground. Beautiful. Now, nice deep inhale, slowly pull that left knee back up to your chest, hugging those knees to your chest. Check in that you haven't fallen to the left or right side of that bolster. And let's get to those core muscles. So the exact same thing we just did when our pelvis was on the bolster is what we're going to do now. So take your knees and bring your knees just in front of your hips. Let your knees relax. Feet are down below your knees, but take your toes and point them up. All right, now lengthen your neck, settle your chin into your throat, gaze at your knees. So get those flexors of your neck engaged. Take your hands to the front of your thighs. Allow yourself to not let your low back move one bit off of this bolster. Gently push your hands into your thighs into your hands, lifting the fingertips towards the ceiling. Now, let's make it harder than what we just did. Can you, in this position, tuck your chin into your throat and slowly lift your head? Now you're getting all of those upper parts of the core connected, gazing straight down at your legs. Can you take that inhale and hear that ocean breath and exhale? One more time. Nice deep inhale in and exhale, dropping the head back down, relaxing here as you bring your hands around the front side of your knees. All right, we're going to do it again, but we're going to kind of focus a little bit more on the core rotators. So those are your internal obliques and other muscles that create rotation to your trunk. So take your right hand, place it on your left thigh, left hand, right thigh. Toes, point them up. All right, now in this position, make sure your back does not move off of the bolster. All right, here we go. Gently push the hands into the knees are in thighs, and then lifting the fingertips upward. All right, can you engage the upper half of your body as well? So lengthen your neck, tuck your chin into your throat, gaze upward as you keep that chin tucked, look at your knees. Oh yes, give me a nice deep inhale here and an exhale. One more breath, deep inhale in and an exhale, slowly dropping the head down, relaxing the hands, just now placing the hands around the outside of the legs. So you're touching the tops of the knees or the shin area. Now, you are going to strengthen the back muscles this time. So take your toes and point your toes away from you. Place those hands and really get those hands holding the front of those shin bones. Do not let your back come off the bolster. but start to pull your hands into your shin bones and push your shin bones into your hands. You will feel all of the back muscles contracting as you're doing that. Lengthen your neck, settle your chin, push the crown of your head, or push the back of your head down into that yoga block. Hold everything here. Give me a nice deep inhale and an exhale, strengthening the multifidus or the back muscles here. Deep inhale and exhale and relax. All right. Don't worry if you got cramping in your feet. It happens often. Now take your toes, point them back up. One last time. Right hand, right thigh, left hand, left thigh. Lengthen your neck, settle your chin. Start to push the hands into the thighs into the hands. Pull those fingers upward. Get that good shaking happening. Get that nice long neck and lift that chin, dropping that rib cage. Gaze at your knees. Holding here, nice deep inhale in and exhaling out. One more breath, deep inhaling in, exhaling out, dropping the neck down onto the yoga block and resting the knees into the chest. Okay, I think there is not a single part of the core that we haven't worked, but yet there's more. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to work an exercise. It's more physical therapy based than yoga based, but we're going to add yoga by doing our Ujjayi ocean breath. That's called dead bug. So here's what I want you to think about. Imagine in your head a bug that you find dead on the floor, right? All of its legs are kind of up in the air. And so that's where this abdominal exercise and core exercise got its name. So take your hands and rest your hands upwards towards the ceiling, but do me a favor, make sure that you feel that your shoulder blades are still touching the bolster. Now the knees are just a little bit in front of the hips. Can you check in this position that you feel that you're not overarching your back or you're not excessively pushing your low back down into the bolster? All right, now, lengthen your neck, settle your chin. Take a deep inhale, and as you exhale, brace and tighten those abdominal muscles. So just in your head, use your mirror neurons, those memory cells in your brain, to think that you're pushing your hands into your thighs and your thighs into your hands right now. You got it? Good. Keep it right there. Take an inhale, and on your exhale with your right toes, slowly drop the right toes to your floor. Inhale, lift the right knee back up. Don't let your spine move. Neck long, chin tucked. Exhale, drop your left toes to the floor. Inhale, lift back up. Let's do 2 more times on each side. Exhaling, dropping the right toes. Inhaling back up. Exhaling, dropping the left toes. Inhaling back up. Keep those abdominals braced. Don't let that spine move. Exhaling, dropping the right toes. Inhaling back up. And finally, exhaling, dropping the left toes. And inhaling back up. Take your knees to a chest for a second. How dead of a bug were you? Did your whole body stay stable and you just had some fidgeting and movement of your legs? I guess it should be actually called dying bug, now that I think of it. Anyways, I digress. All right, let's do our dead or dying bug with our arms this time. So again, place the knees so that they're just in front of the hips. Point your toes up this time so that you get a little bit further irradiation or contraction of those lower abdominals with your lower body. We're not going to be moving our legs this time. And then take those arms up in the air. In this position, lengthen your neck, settle your chin. Now, visualize yourself taking your hands right now and placing them on the thighs and contracting the thighs into the hands and the hands into the thighs. Do you feel that beautiful bracing happening? I hope you do. All right, now take a nice deep inhale here, and then on the exhale, right hand, slowly move it overhead, but don't let any part of your spine move. Inhaling, bringing it back up, left hand, slowly overhead. Keep your neck long and your chin tucked inward. Inhaling it back up. 2 more times on each. Exhaling right hand. Inhaling it back up. Exhaling left hand. Keep that neck long. Keep those abdominals braced. Exhaling it back up. One more time on the right. Oh, that's your exhale there. I screwed up. Sorry, guys. Inhale it back up. And then your left hand. Exhaling it. And then inhaling it back up, taking the knees to the chest. Can you handle just one more round? Let's move the legs and the feet and the arms and the hands. Align your knees, stack them so they're just in front of the hips. Take your toes and point them up this time. So our heels are going to try to make it to the floor this time. Fingertips to the ceiling. All right, lengthen your neck, settle your chin. Really close your eyes for a second. Imagine your hands touching the front of your thighs and starting to push. What do your thighs and your abdominal muscles do in return? Do it. Even though it's not happening, make it happen. All right, guys, we're going to move our right leg and our left arm first. So take an inhale. As you exhale, drop the right heel and the left arm. Inhale, bring them up. Keep that brace, keep that contraction. Left leg, right arm. Exhale, drop them down. Inhale, lifting them back up. Right leg, left arm. Exhale, dropping them. Inhale, lifting them back up. Left leg, right arm, dropping them on the exhale. Keep that abdominal braced. Inhale, lifting back up. Right arm, right leg, left arm. Exhale, dropping them down. Inhale, lifting them back up. Last one, left leg, right arm, dropping them down on the exhale. And inhaling back up and pulling those knees to the chest. I think we're done. All right, now here's what I want you to do. I want you to gracefully fall off of your bolster. So you can fall off the left side, fall off the right side, but just gently roll yourself off the bolster. Push yourself up and gently move your bolster and your yoga block off to the side. Once you've done that, allow yourself to lay down on your side, roll over on your back. How are those abdominal and core muscles feeling right now? Nice and easy. Take the right leg straight down the mat, left foot, place it up on the right thigh, right hand to the left knee, left arm out to the side of the body. Nice deep inhale here. And then as you exhale, pull that left knee to the right. Go as far as you can. Keep that left shoulder blade down, lengthen your neck, settle your chin, and then turn your gaze to your left thumb. In this position, can you do that Ujjayi breath? So deep inhale into the nose and exhaling out. Yes, guys, one more time for me. Deep inhaling into the nose and exhaling out. Now turn the head back to the neutral position. First, start at that left shoulder blade and start to de-rotate the rib cage and then the low back. And then that pelvis, and then let that knee come upright. Place the left foot on the floor. Slide the right leg up, slide the left leg down. Right foot comes onto the left thigh, left hand to the outside of the right knee, right hand out to the side of the body. Nice deep inhale here. Exhale, pulling that right knee across the body, lifting the pelvis, the low back, the rib cage. Right shoulder blade down onto the mat, lengthen the neck, settle the chin, rotate the head towards that right side, gazing at that right thumb. 2 nice, beautiful, deep breaths here. So deep inhale into the belly and then exhaling out. Let's do that one more time. Deep inhale into the belly and exhaling out. Really good job, guys. Turn your head back to the center. Start with that right shoulder blade, de-rotate the rib cage down, de-rotate the low back and the pelvis. Right knee is up, place the right foot on the floor, slide the left leg up And then gently take both knees to your chest one last time. Deep inhale into the belly, exhaling out. Then slowly dropping right foot to the floor, left foot to the floor, sliding the right leg down to the right corner of the mat, the left leg down to the left corner of the mat, rolling those shoulder blades underneath you, lengthening your neck, settling your chin, resting your arms on the floor. An hour of a core. That's what we did today. Now, as your body is staying nice and still, Savasana, corpse pose. Allow yourself to think about what I did at the very beginning of class. Would you rather be that nice, stable aluminum can that has pressure inside, that no matter how much pressure you take into that system, also known as gravity, it doesn't buckle or bend? That is an efficient core. Versus, would you rather have that second can where there was no pressure inside, no upper core, no alignment through the rib cage and the pelvis? And when gravity is added to that, all that happens is the entire system crumbles. That's what happens to posture. That's what happens to our spine. With time and age, with gravity, if we don't challenge the right muscles. So our entire goal with the core is to get that trunk as stable and strong as we can. Now, very slowly start to wiggle your fingers and your toes and maybe some circles with your wrists and your ankles. And then when you feel like you're ready, start to slide one leg up, followed by the other. Slowly let yourself roll back over onto your side in that log roll. Resting there for a moment or two, taking a deep inhale, and then on your exhale, top hand, bottom elbow, pushing yourself up into a seated position. Crossing the legs in easy pose. Taking the hands to the heart. Nice deep inhale in and exhaling out. Namaste. The highest in me salutes the highest in you. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you have a strong and stable spine.